here and abroad, who's ever out there watching us. We are an open and inclusive congregation. Our members walk diverse paths to find meaning and purpose, but we are united by our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all. My name is Linda Heidenberg, and I've been an active member since 2015. Our speaker today is Reverend Pat Jobe, who's been our minister since 2020. Opening words, Pat.
I got it. Teresa, the first thing I'm supposed to do is apologize to you for Eddie Gunn. He did not bring his mouth harp today because an 80-foot oak fell across their driveway last night. It hit none of their cars. It did not hit their house, but it did prevent them from egressing this morning. So they're a bit trapped behind that. I also want to wish Doug a happy birthday. I know we don't usually do birthdays here, but Doug and Pat have certainly wormed their way into our hearts, and we love them very much. And I do want to say that Doug requested today's sermon, but if you don't like it, it was already in progress before he requested it. If you do like it, you can thank him. And I also feel like we need to recognize Quinn. Quinn is always here. He's always got the video going. I know that our viewers at home really appreciate Quinn making the effort. I hear from people who watch Quinn. You're awesome. Thank you very much. Our opening words come from Van Morrison. You can't stop us on the road to freedom. You can't stop us because our eyes can see. Let me see what's next in case I don't need to sit down. I do need to sit down.
Please join me in the chalice lighting words. We light this flaming chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In our search for truth, may we be just. In our search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. And we have a story for
Ellery. A story for Ellery. Ellery, nice. Do you want to hear a story?
It's nice to have Ellery here.
It's nice to have Ellery. And Ellery, while we're recognizing your brother for running the video, I want to recognize you for sweeping the lobby today and also for putting out the hymns. Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, the topic today, Ellery, is freedom. Freedom. So tell me something you are free to do. You're 11 years old, right? Tell me something that an 11-year-old Ellery is free to do.
I'm 11 going into 12.
Going into 12. When do you turn 12?
March 2nd.
Wow, almost here. Dr. Seuss's birthday. Fantastic. We talked about that before. Okay. You who are almost 12, tell me something you are free to do.
Don't even know.
I'm sorry?
I don't even know what I'm free to do.
You don't know what you're free to do. Well, let me ask you this. Did anybody ask you to sweep the lobby this morning? So you were free to do that, right? You went and found a broom and the dustpan and you swept the lobby. You were free to do that. Nobody told you not to. Nobody told you to, right? What about breathing? Do you feel like you're free to breathe? Is anybody trying to stop you from breathing? Is anybody encouraging you to breathe? You're just good at it, right? You're just free to do it. What about run around in the yard after the service? Do you feel like you're free to do that? You're not free to do that? Do you get in trouble for doing that? Sorry, I brought it up. Okay. What about playing on the playground next door? Are you free to do that sometimes?
Once ask Mom.
Once you ask Mom. Okay. Well, once you ask Mom and she says yes, that's freedom, isn't it? go over there, you jump on stuff, you go down a sliding board, you run around. That's freedom, right? Okay. You are absolutely wonderful. Don't let anybody ever tell you anything different. And you can either go out with your mom now or you can sit down, whichever you want to do. Which of y'all want to do?
Children's room.
All right, children's room. Okay, I'm not taking that personally.
Let's sing her out. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Teresa wants us to know that the music that's written in here is not what she'll be doing today. She'll be playing Twilight by Melody Bober as the centering music. That was beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, now it's up to you, Pat.
No pressure.
No pressure.
It's up to me and Doug. How many of you saw Ken Burns's thing about the Civil War? How many of you remember the letter from Sullivan Ballou that had a Ashokan farewell? Thanks, George. Okay, my hope is that Teresa and I are going to pull that off at the end of this reflection. But if I start crying uncontrollably, I'm just going to sit down and Teresa's going to finish it. Take a deep breath of the silence. Notice what an amazing thing it is to be alive, to have breath in our lungs and blood in our veins and hopes and dreams in our hearts. Right here, right now. Writing a sermon comprising a series of words representing thoughts is a terrible undertaking, because words and thoughts are always 1 degree removed, always 1 degree removed, always 1 degree removed from what is really going on. Now, if I were to pound this lectern and tell you absolutely beyond the shadow of a doubt, this is what is really going on, you would be tempted to dial 911 and shuffle me off to the hospital for a few days of rest and medication. But let me, and I know you will, simply say that the journey has been particularly enlightening over the past several months. Enlightening? Oh, really? Now, this self-ordained small-town Southern mystic is going to claim to be enlightened? One of my favorite books on the subject is The Translucent Revolution, which claims to be a study of people who have been enlightened. Here comes the tricky part. Most of the people in this study of enlightened people were recommended by other people who believed them to be enlightened. When they were actually interviewed, they said, "Oh no, I'm not enlightened." So by that standard, I am certainly not enlightened. I'm glad I was able to clear that up for you. I may not be enlightened, but I've had experiences that made me quite certain this life is not limited to meat and clocks and science and mathematics and the outsides of Brussels sprouts, which were fed to Mary's chickens last week. That's not all there is to life. You probably know the old saying that there are three kinds of people when it comes to mathematics: those who can do math and those who can't. That joke never gets more than half the audience. There is certainly more to life than meat and clocks and science and math. Life contains a transcendent quality, and that transcendent quality gives us the ability to walk in freedom. The old rabbi was dying. They all knew he was dying. His students lined up next to his deathbed. The smartest one sat next to his head, and then they went on down the line till they got to the dumbest one. And the smartest one leaned over to the dying rabbi, and he said, "What is the meaning of life?" And the rabbi said, "Life is like a river." And the smartest one turned to the next smartest one and said, "Life is like a river. Life is like a river. Life is like a river." Right on down the line. When they got to the dumbest one, he said, "What does that mean?" So back up the line, the question went, "What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?" And the smartest one leans over the rabbi and he says, "What does that mean?" And the rabbi says, "Maybe life isn't like a river." It is that transcendent quality which makes life maybe like a river or maybe not like a river. It is that transcendent quality that gives people who are enlightened the freedom to say, "Oh no, I'm not enlightened." It is that transcendent quality which gives each of you in this room at this moment the freedom to wonder, what in the world is this guy talking about? And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I really am not trying to cause confusion, but I am going to give you a number of examples of how transcendent reality can sometimes break into our lives with such power that we can see clearly what under normal circumstances we cannot see. Maybe the most famous example is the rather unbelievable story of tongues of fire falling on the gathering of what Christians refer to as Pentecost. Everybody had tongues of fire on their heads. But that one goes way back, and most of us sophisticated science-based Unitarians don't have much use for the likes of that. How about this morning? You stepped out of your house to walk your dog in the rain or feed your chickens in the rain, and there was one drop of rain on the tip of a leaf, and a little bit of light had broken through the clouds and was shining through that one drop of rain, refracting and becoming a rainbow on the side of your house. Would that be evidence of a transcendent reality? Would that be evidence of a transcendent reality? You can hear it, can't you? I'm using words to describe something that is beyond words. as we get through the next few minutes, hold on to that. You want to listen to me talk about things that can't really be talked about. Yep, that's it. That's what we're doing. Some of you are hearing this as hearkening back to the Gibbs brothers, who comprised the band known as the Bee Gees. You can almost hear them singing, "Smile, an everlasting smile. A smile can bring you near to me. Don't ever let me find you down, because that would bring a tear to me. This world has lost its glory. Let's start a brand new story now, my love. Right now, there'll be no other time, and I can show you how, my love. Talk in everlasting words and dedicate them all to me, and I will give you all my life. I'm here if you should call on me. You think that I don't even mean a single word I say. It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away." The really radical, amazing, bum-diggity thing about what we're talking about this afternoon is that we are right and everybody else is wrong. No, can't say that. Unitarian Universalists can't say that. We may have a little smidgen of what is right, but so do other people. Okay, but when it comes to transcendent reality, to the mystical essence of ultimate reality, we have the good sense to know we cannot name it, or if we do give it one name, we also concede that other names might work as well. I promised examples, and let the record show I have given you 2 examples already. There was Pentecost, when hundreds of people in ancient Jerusalem saw tongues of fire on each other's heads, and there was that drop of rain on the tip of that leaf outside your house this morning as you were walking your dogs and feeding your chickens. Here are a few more. On March 18th, 1958, Thomas Merton, a Trappist monk residing in the Abbey of Our Lady of Gethsemane near Bardstown, Kentucky, was running errands. Standing on a corner, Merton experienced what many consider to be a turning point in his life. He was, as a commemorative plaque says, suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all these people walking around, shining like the sun. The event was so memorable that the city of Louisville put up a commemorative plaque. You can find it if you Google Merton plaque, Louisville, Kentucky. All the people moving on that street had become beings of light. Doug, can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen. The world-famous atheist Sam Harris had a similar experience under the influence of MDMA, a hallucinogenic drug. He realized that he felt perfect, unconditional love for his friend who was sitting on the sofa with him, but also realized that he would have felt the same love for a perfect stranger who walked through the door. He said he felt it with the same certainty he felt that all parallel lines have qualities in common with all other parallel lines. And here's an example that I love very much. Elena Shakur, a dear friend of mine, had a heart attack. McKeever Watson and I loaded up in the car and rode over to James Island to see her. Her living room was already crowded with 3 of her children and maybe about that many grandchildren. At one point in the evening, she looked around the living room and said, "Well, I can see that all I need to do to draw a crowd is to have a heart attack." Stories started to flow about light, seeing lights, being lights to each other. One of her daughters said to Elena, "Mama, tell about the light you saw." It was very strange, she said. I didn't even feel the need to pull over. I could still drive, but right in front of me, a ball of light lay just in front of my car. Somehow I could still see well enough to drive, but the light just rode along with me for a while and then went away. So what? Surely after you've listened this far, you know that I could not resist telling that story. But there were 3 more that night. One of her grandsons is a cartoonist and draws graphic novels. He told of being prompted to draw a novel in which characters had light pouring out of them. And then one of his daughters said she was in a yoga studio one night and everybody in the studio suddenly had light pouring out of their bodies. I can't remember the 4th story, but all of it's very similar to what Thomas Merton experienced on March 18th, 1958, standing on the street in Louisville, Kentucky. A story that became so famous, the city put up a historical marker. I do remember noticing that in a single evening, in a gathering of about 10 people, there were 4 stories of light, beings of light. Maybe that's the light that will surround us as we pass from this world. A light that comes from all points on the sphere, a loving, accepting light that might just be from the center of the universe, or from all centers of all subatomic structures. Who knows? Maybe it is the light of the world. At lunch on Monday, I got to cite 3 sources that tell us whatever transcendent reality we're talking about, it cannot be named. I hope that is not a terrible disappointment to those of you who came here today hoping to hear about walking in freedom allowed by a spirit at the heart of life, a spirit that might even percolate at the heart of subatomic structure, might even percolate at the heart of all life. But whatever it is, it cannot be named. The ancient Hebrews created a word with no vowels so that it could not be spoken. Black Elk, the famous Lakota holy man, said that Wakan Tonkin is actually a name that says the name cannot be spoken. And Rudolf Otto, a German theologian who talked about the numinous, that wild and beautiful emotional connection that occurs at times to those who experience transcendent reality, he said it cannot be named, cannot be named. And he said it cannot be spoken aloud or written down. But walk in freedom anyway. Life itself gave you whatever it takes to get over here on Sunday afternoons, and thank you all for coming. Jim Price and I were a little scared nobody was going to come. We trust that whatever it is will get you back home later on today. I love to call it an overarching field of loving energy, but even that is as much a violation of sacred limitations as anything else. It is not to be named, but it is there. It is not to be named, but it is there. It is not to be named, and it might even object to being called an it. A letter from Captain Sullivan Ballou to his wife Sarah was immortalized in the Civil War miniseries created by Ken Burns. The letter was read as Jay Unger's Ashokan Farewell played in the background. This is in part how the letter reads as Ballou predicts his own death in the Battle of Bull Run. My dear Sarah, never forget how much I love you. And when my last breath escapes me on the battlefield, it will whisper your name. Forgive my many faults and the many pains I have caused you. How thoughtless and foolish I have been. How gladly would I wash out my tears, every little spot upon your happiness, and struggle with all the misfortune of this world to shield you from harm. But I cannot. I must watch you from the spirit land and hover near you while you buffet the storms with your precious little freight and wait with sad patience until we meet to part no more. But oh, Sarah, if the dead can come back to this earth and flit unseen around those they loved, I shall always be near you in the brightest day and in the darkest night, amidst your happiest scenes and gloomiest hours. always, always. And if there be a soft breeze upon your cheek, it shall be my breath. Or the cool air fans your throbbing temple, it shall be my spirit passing by. Sarah, do not mourn me dead, and think I am gone, and wait for me, for we shall meet again. Let's talk about it. Linda, you want to help
Yeah.
lead the talk back?
Talk back. That was beautiful, by the way. Yeah,
That was beautiful.
that was beautiful. Absolutely.
Yes, Sue.
As you spoke, it reminded me or brought me to a friend who, as a child, experienced the death thing that we have heard oftentimes of experiencing a light. And her comment at the time was she experienced it as Jesus because that was her faith tradition. But she has now switched to a religion that's called Eckanar. And it worships the light. And I find that very interesting. I don't know that much about her, about that faith, but, apparently there is a group that believes that the light is, whatever God word you want to use.
There you go. I got through it without using the G word.
I have.
That was intentional on my part. Jim.
Just kind of an aside, would you like to join the Episcopalians in naming whatever it is?
I've been a Methodist. And we did not hesitate to name it. But think about this is really important to me personally. You all may go out of here saying, what in the world was that all about? But the ancient Hebrews would not say the word. They were very aware. That there was something they were dealing with. Moses said, what's your name? He said, tell them I am sent you. He said, what kind of a name? That's not a name. Give me a name. And so the burning bush said, tell them I am that I am, which remained confusing. Yeah.
We had my daughter was in a car accident. She was a senior in high school. They had a head injury and took her to Washington Hospital Center. And the doc said she had a 2% chance of making it. Okay? So she was in a coma for 13 days. I'm crying.
Sure.
And the nurse walked in with a flaming chalice. And she started waking up. And from that point on, she graduated high school, graduated college, and got a master's degree.
Wow.
And it's the faith, it's just a faith, like I said. The flaming chalice walks in.
Isn't that great?
Can't explain it.
Right.
Can't explain it.
Right. And how dangerous it would be if you tried to explain it and then went to somebody else in a hospital room with a daughter in a coma. You see the problem. The problem is we can't do it for other people. And it frustrates the heck out of the fundamentalists, but somehow we're okay with it. We understand we can't do it for other people. That's a part of who we are as Unitarian Universalists. We'll hang out with you, but we're not going to do it for you.
That's mother comes back as a butterfly.
There you go.
Every time we had my nephew's graduation and my grandson was there, and her name was Heisey. Heisey just wouldn't fly, just kept on landing on my grandson. Steady, couldn't get you. I said, "You go away, Heisey. He's okay." She was there the whole time. And every time there's a decision to be made or something, I don't care what time of season it is, a butterfly appears. All the time. My granddaughter went to buy a car. And she was very close to my mother-in-law, extremely close. And she says, well, I got to make a decision, either this color or this color, right hand, left hand. A butterfly comes down and lands on the left hand and stays there until we walk back inside. She said, well, I guess Heisey made my decision for me.
Exactly. Heisey
Can't
was,
explain it. It just
yeah.
happens.
yeah, Heisey was there. I know there's a ball game this afternoon, but I could literally stand here for the next 3 hours and tell similar stories. It's uncanny. I did a funeral one time, an outdoor funeral, and a butterfly showed up, lighted on almost everybody at that funeral, and then when the funeral was over, left. So what? Right? No, not so what. Not so what. I think probably one of the wildest stories I've heard is that when Jean will kill me because I always struggled with her name, Jean McGee. When Jean McGee's mother died up in Pennsylvania, the yard was full of barred owls. And they even went so far as to call the local wildlife agent and say, come down here, we've got all these barred owls. We don't know what's going on. And they came down, and the wildlife people said, well, this is kind of unusual, but don't worry about it. You know, it's no big deal. 2 or 3 days went by and they all left. When Jean died, 30 years later, in an extremely highly developed part of Greenville, South Carolina, a barred owl landed on her window of her hospital room and stayed there until she passed. Okay, so we got 3 hours, Linda. Can we go 3 more
That's
hours?
pretty good.
Can we go 3 more hours? Yes, 2 Jims.
Jim
Jim in the back. Jim in the back got it up first. Go ahead, Jim Arnold.
Well, that's pretty simple and quick. One day I was coming back from Lincoln, but there was a rainbow in the sky. It had not rained, and it didn't rain after. I've never seen a rainbow when it didn't rain. But there was a rainbow, and I thought, wow, that's a nice little treat.
So nice little something from somewhere, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Jim Arnold.
So, light is clearly symbolic, but there has to be, I think we're saying, a deeper meaning. We have a chalice. Kwanzaa has candles. We have the lights of the Christmas tree, the menorah to celebrate Hanukkah. But there is an intersection with the hard science, and it was an amazing discovery literally within the past couple of months. The scientists at NASA aimed the James Webb telescope at the area in space that was absolutely dark to the Hubble telescope. It could see things no one could ever see. Well, the stronger Webb telescope went to the darkest part of space, and it was filled with the light of 1 billion galaxies that they could plainly see. There was something there.
And if you'll ask Valerie after the service, she'll tell you about a TED Talk that's about that telescope looking into that part of space. It's wonderful. You'll thoroughly enjoy it. Or email me and I'll send it to you. Okay. Since we're not going to go 3 more hours, I will sing.
We've got the musical reflection, and we're going to pass the basket at the same time.
No, we're not going to pass the basket at the same time.
We're not going to.
No, we have an offertory and a musical reflection today.
Okay, great. Then let's just hear Teresa then. I don't know if it's special, but sitting over here, the music, I feel like I'm in the piano. It's just really special over there. Okay, this fellowship is important to us, and the contributions we make allow us to sustain and grow our congregation and reach out to the community, both nearby and the larger world. Your giving affirms our commitment to each other and keeps us going. Thank you so much, Teresa. It's a pleasure to have you here. And thank you, Pat, for all your enlightenment.
I'm not enlightened.
We're trying. Thank you. Please take a look at the announcements in the thing. I was talking to Doug about what he needs. I think we need to emphasize how we can help Pat and Doug and their ministry with the migrants at the bus station. And he said he needs men's clothing like jackets and stuff, shirts, where most of the migrants are men at kind of a smaller stature. So I'm gonna go and raid my husband's closet. What are you gonna give up there? Anyway, so we can help support you too, Doug. Okay, the next song, My Life Flows on an Endless Song, 108. 108.
Could I take a quick survey on how many of you know this song? Raise your hand if you know it. Okay, I'll do a line, you do a line.
Come on up and sing.
My life grows on an endless song above earth's limitation.
My life goes on an endless song above earth's limitation.
I hear the real, the far off hymn that hails a new creation.
I hear the real, the far off hymn that hails a new creation.
Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. Its songs echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing?
It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing?
First verse.
My life goes on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, the far
Our closing words come from Woody Allen. He said, I'm not too sure about the other side. I mean, can they break a 20?
Please join me in the chalice closing words. We extinguish the chalice, but not the light of truth.
The warmth of community, or the fire of commitment.
These we carry in our hearts until we meet again.
Also, please, if you're used to putting the room back like it's supposed to be, give it a couple of minutes so we can visit with each other and say howdy before you start packing up the room. Thank you.
Another job in the